Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you very much and welcome, Juan. It's a privilege to ask a couple of questions to you. So my first question will be, first of all, to present you. Juan, you are the artistic director of a very famous makeup brand known worldwide, Kiko. And Kiko has a very core business with a target audience, very young target audience. And we know that the young generation, for them, sustainability is on their DNA. As well, we know, because we met already, that sustainability is something extremely strong for you personally. So I would like to ask, my first question is, how do you combine luxury obsession when you create packaging with sustainability? How do you do that?
Well, Ilan, there is now a trend, if we might call it trend, that companies are switching to less components or less elements in the packaging nowadays. So there is this tendency to eliminate the superfluous elements in packaging, switching from plastic to paper. And all these companies that are doing this, they are doing amazing efforts to do so. So you can see when you buy into an organic bio grocery store, they will strip down all the packaging from labels, from plastic materials, etc., and they will give you the fruit in a brown paper bag. The same exact brown paper bag that will give you in the traditional market. So if you go and buy that fruit in a traditional market, probably you will get the same brown paper bag. And I think that is the real luxury, you know, the will to strip down the packaging to the minimum. It's not a minimalistic approach, no, but it's also an approach of just giving you what is necessary. If you buy an iPhone, an iPad, a MacBook Pro today, you will see that inside there is no more the thermoform inlay to hold the phone. It's paper. It's probably thermoform pulp, but it's paper. So you can throw that rigid box entirely into the waste or into the paper for recycling. So that is the real luxury, the will to create less waste. That is the luxury today.
Okay. Thank you for this first answer. My second question is, Juan, you are part of the jury. You have been a winner in the last edition. So can you tell us what is the trend of this edition? What have you seen, like in terms of trend? Have you seen something relevant? How do you judge this edition?
Well, there was common approaches to graphic design and the use of paper. We've seen. You will see later on the exhibition that there are a return to basics, so limited color palettes. So there are amazing works that were submitted with only 2 or 3 inks, very impactful with limited colors. Nowadays, you can do whatever you want with printing, with digital printing. You can do whatever you imagine. But this was something amazing, see people coming back to these roots, to this intention. People were using letterpress, lithography, things like that today you might be able to forget those techniques, and instead of that, people were returning into those techniques. So amazing use of paper, very nice die lines and die cuts, and the introduction of digital as a part of creating something similar to handcrafted. Okay. So it's let's say if people is now returning to capture pictures in film, there is something similar happening into graphic design nowadays.
Very interesting. My last question will be around refillable packaging. Like 5 years ago, there was like a revolution in the market with refillable packaging. And we said at that time, it's going to be a revolution and it's going to change totally. And soon we will go to Sephora with our bottle to refill the fragrance, etc. Well, it has started, but it has not been like a real revolution, a big boom. How do you see refillable packaging trend with regards to sustainability, and how do you see this as a future?
Well, it's obviously key. We are not yet there. Okay. It will become massive. It will become something maybe imposed by logistics, maybe imposed by legislation. But as I was saying before, this means a lot of efforts from companies. So only big brands are able to do it right now. The refillable option is not that new. If you remember Alien and Angel from Terry Mugler.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right.
Those were refillable in the 90s, so we are speaking about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And they had their refill column there. So because the bottles were so iconic and people didn't want to trash or dispose those beautiful glass bottles. They were expensive, they were heavy, and they were difficult to display. So probably they were refillable already because of that kind of iconicity. You don't want to throw it away, no? So, but the refillable implies also a lot of commitments, space. It implies that you can build something that will be forever. Mm-hmm. But on the contrary, you can look for alternatives by building with paper. So you switch from metal, from plastics, from aluminum to paper, and you create primary packaging in paper that is easily disposable, that you can throw it in the paper for recycling. And
you've done this. You've done with the lipsticks.
We have done it as a brand for a lipstick. Yeah. It was wrapped in paper. The refillable is an expensive option because the consumer buy it and then they need to buy the rest. But you can do it. You could do it with a lot of products. I mean, it's just you need to challenge your ideas and your company to do it.
Thank you very much, Juan.
Speaking of challenge, we have here among the best printers and converters of Southern Europe, and I know you challenge them very often to push to the extreme, to try something that they haven't tried in a mass that you work with, because you work with huge numbers. You have print runs and box runs of, hundreds of thousands when you're lucky, and sometimes it's even millions. How do you achieve such a good work together with these people to get these extraordinary results?
Well, Chiara, I think the basic is the relationship. So you start with a good relationship. You trust your printer. The printer trusts you. The printer follows your crazy ideas. You study together the materials, because when we speak about paper, I mean, you need to go and test it, and you need to print it to see how it works, to see how it behaves. If we are speaking about packaging, you need to know how it folds. You need to how resistant it is, and you cannot do that alone. I mean,
so you are physically close to them.
Physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's a bad companion if you don't trust your printer, or your printer doesn't trust you, or if you don't live in the process with the printer. So I think it's an exchange, a cultural exchange. You will become more skilled technically and also as a designer if you collaborate better with your transformer. I mean,
partnership.
Yeah, it's a partnership relationship.
Thank you so much. We have time for one or perhaps two questions. So the floor is open for questions. While we gather them, I may have an extra one.
Okay.
What about monomaterials in packaging? Packaging is composed of many different things. How can you really achieve?
If we come back to what we have seen now as projects and the shortlisted projects, there are a lot of monomaterial packagings. And this is important, and I forgot to mention it before, because it's not a trend. A trend is, Roger told me that a trend is an ugly word. because it's what is happening now. So you are moving into a more simple packaging, not minimalistic, but a more simple constructed packaging, and you will see it from the awarded projects. This monomateriality is necessary to dispose things properly, to end up their life properly. No?
Grazie, Juan.
Prego.
Thank you very much.
Any more questions from the audience? From home? Well, you can write. There is a special mailbox called Dear Juan, and oh no, hang on. What is your dream of packaging project to develop?
Wow, this is this is super difficult, but I think the most scalable packaging projects are food packaging, probably because of the quantities, and I think the food industry is also generating a lot of waste, from water bottles to an enormous amount of vegetables and fruits that you buy in the supermarket. So that is the dream project for me, to work in a project that you can eliminate a lot of waste and do your part.
More on this soon. Thank you so much.
Grazie a voi.
Grazie.